Okay, here we go. The 49ers have cut Pro Bowl fullback, um, the longest tenured 49er, Kyle Juszczyk. They're going to release him Wednesday on the league new year. And when you're allowed to, have players released, it's going to be a cap casualty move. This is kind of one of those things where the writing was on the wall, unfortunately. And, Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch, they kind of hinted towards this, specifically John Lynch. He hinted towards us that it was going to be, a very difficult decision. Um, I posted this a few weeks ago, the update, and people were not happy. They were very upset and they're mad at me. I say, this is what Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch told us, but it kind of seemed like the writing was on the wall. One of the things that we were talking about over the last few weeks was last year when they asked Kyle Juszczyk to take a pay cut, and he was not happy about it. He didn't want to take a pay cut. And, I think they probably approached him again. And he probably says, no, man, just cut me because I want to go somewhere where I can earn some money. He still said he has a lot of ball left in him. He said that in his exit interview, that he knows he can still play, and he's not just here to, retire or nothing. He still feels like he could play at a high level. He's the best fullback in the league, right? Not a lot of teams use fullbacks. 49ers are, they usually use a lot of 21 personnel. They're going to have to get away from that. They're going to have to be focused on beating, single press man cover instead of just using that 21 personnel. The Niners are changing their personality, no matter what you think. They got to go to it. He's going to go to a team, and he's going to play with a chip on his shoulder, like all these players that are leaving. The 49ers are going to lose a lot of players, and they have already, and then they're going to go around the league, and they're going to play with just motivation, man. I mean, there's not a lot of teams that use a fullback. Maybe Miami. They can use him because they have the Miami Mike 49ers system somewhat. The Ravens would make sense. He played in the Ravens before. The Rams, I hate to say that, but they could use him. McVay would cook with him. It's gonna be interesting, and I'm sad. Again, I knew this was gonna happen. It seemed like the writing was on the wall, but come on, man. Like, just when it all hits you in one day, it just messes with you. Like, mentally, I'm honestly crashed out mentally. I'm just like, man, because it was like one big news after another. Like, again, I saw a lot of this coming. We literally talked about this all week, right? Who do you think's gonna leave? And I said, oh yeah, Kyle Juszczyk's probably gonna go. Talanoa Hufanga, Dre Greenlaw. But when it happens, it's like, damn. And all in one day, you lost Kyle Juszczyk, you lost Dre Greenlaw, you lose Mooney Ward, you lose Aaron Banks. Although it is what it is. You lose Talanoa Hufanga, man. You lose Jalen Moore. That wasn't the biggest loss, but it's still a pretty substantial loss, knowing this offensive line has not been improved yet. Elijah Mitchell, it is what it is. He can never stay healthy. But when you look at what they've done so far, again, it's just Monday, but they've brought in Luke Farrell. Okay? He can catch it straight. Patrick Taylor and Kevin Gibbons. It's like, you look what you lost. Like, yes, they've got four extra comp picks for next year. And then they get a 5th-round pick out of Deebo Samuel. So you turned all those players you lost into 5 draft picks. You got to hit on those draft picks, and it's tough, man. Leon says it's a funeral today. This is the 49ers. This is definitely the end of an era, man. The longest tenured 49er, man. Terrence says heartbreak juice. Rick says we won't hear juice in the stands anymore. Losing Hufanga, Juice, and Greenlaw on the same day, man. This might be the saddest day in 49er history. Like, God, Jesus, man. They're getting rid of Deebo Samuel and Kyle Juszczyk. So their offense, man, their offense is going to be so different next year. They're going to have to replace these guys. They're guys that help with the motion, the blocking, just so much they did. I feel like Deebo and Kyle Juszczyk, I know they weren't what they were. They were, a little older. They were a little slower. But I'll tell you what, man, both of those guys, losing them both, that's tough. Like, the structure of their offense is going to be completely revamped, maybe. I mean, you got faster guys, Ricky Pearsall. You got George Kittle now, who can maybe do a little more because they got a blocking tight end, and maybe you take the pressure off of George Kittle. You got to use him. You got Kyle, Jawan Jennings. It's gonna be interesting. Draft's gonna be crazy, man. It's crazy. It's definitely crazy. Terrence says, honestly, I would rather have Kittle and Warner to be traded. They don't deserve to go through another down season. I hope we don't have another down season. You're right, though. I don't want to see Kittle and Warner. These two guys have been like captains, heart and soul of this team on the offense and defense, leaders. And if they have to go through another shitty year, I'm gonna feel bad for them, man. It's definitely a sad day, man. Ninerland is hurting. Hopefully tomorrow is better. But yeah, media says this roster is about to be different. It's going to be a completely different team. It's like a makeover. I don't know if you wanted the makeover, but we're getting a makeover. This team's going to look absolutely, completely different next year. It's going to be such a weird looking team next year, man. But yeah, I think it was definitely writing on the wall for a guy like Kyle Juszczyk. It's unfortunate. I definitely think they were going to move away from him, and now you got to replace him in the draft. Maybe the tight end they signed today is going to be, utilized like a Kyle Juszczyk guy. Who knows? Blooming Cash says, I feel like it was about time for Juice, especially with the pay cut last season. Yeah, I definitely didn't think he was coming back because I knew the 49ers were going to ask him to take a pay cut or restructure. He did not like that. He was not happy about that last year. So. John my man media says John has said 2 years in a row that we need to build around Purdy. Going to be quite interesting. You're right. They got to build it. They want to build around Purdy, but at what cost? If this is what it takes, I mean, wow, they really have to improve a lot. They have to nail the draft. They have to go crazy. They have to go crazy in the draft. They really do, because they're not going to do anything in free agent. They're going to get some minimal players here and there, I feel, in the next couple of days. If they get a big, shocking player, I'm going to be shook. But they got to hit the draft. You're right. Brandon says, Cam Scatterbo, you are not. Maybe it's Scatterbo. Maybe they go get Scatterbo. I don't know, man. This team is shooken up, though. John Lenore was like, every player that left, he was sad. Rightfully so. Christian McCaffrey, he put a broken heart on his story for Kyle Juszczyk. George Kittle, he was broken apart for this. I mean, these guys are sad. It's like Heartbreak City. This is like Heartbreak Monday. This has got to be covering this team over these years. This has got to be the most sad offseason day I've seen in a long time. Maybe I don't know. The year in 2015 when we lost Patrick Willis, Justin Smith, Harbaugh, like that year when they broke apart the Harbaugh team, that was an all-timer. We're getting close to that type of offseason. Like, it is very, very, very close to that. I mean, I'll show you. Look, let's go down. Let's compare it, because that was a rough-ass offseason. You guys remember that? Last year, where, Harbaugh got fired and everybody left. The dominoes fell. Patrick Willis retired. And everybody's like, well, if he's gone, I'm gone. If he's gone, I'm gone. If he's gone. It was rough, man. It was a brutal. I posted about it the other day. Here it is. East Bay Chris on Twitter says 49ers fans went through an offseason in 2015 where the team lost Patrick Willis, Justin Smith, Aldon Smith, Anthony Davis, Chris Borland, Frank Gore, Mike Crabtree, and Mike Iupati. He says this offseason's child's play. I don't know if it's child's play anymore. You lost Aldon Smith, Patrick Willis, Justin Smith, Anthony Davis, Chris Borland, Stevie Johnson, Jonathan Martin. He was terrible. Trenton Holiday, whatever. Andy Lee, Parrish Cox, Michael Crabtree, Chris Culliver, Frank Gore, Mike Iupati, Josh Johnson, whatever. Brandon Lloyd, Kasim Osgood, Alfonso Smith, Bubba Ventrone, and Dan Scooty. You lost every single one of those players. And this year so far, I mean, it's getting close. So far, they've lost Kyle Juszczyk, Aaron Banks, Charvarius Ward, Talanoa Hufanga, Dre Greenlaw, Jalen Moore, Elijah Mitchell, Josh Dobbs, and Deebo Samuel. It's pretty rough, man. This is like 2014 offseason all over again. Whew. It's crazy, man. AJ says, I respect everyone's opinion, but I'm not that sad. That's good, man. I'm glad you're not. I'm not sad. I'm just like, I'm tired. I'm just, I don't know if I'm stressed. I'm tired. Because when you have to post all this news, it's stressful because it's free agency, whatever. I do it every year. It's cool. But when it's like bad news after bad news after bad news, it's like, it weighs on you, man. It does. It weighs on you. But, we saw this coming, though. They do this every year. But this year, it feels like it's like tenfold. So, which loss today hit the hardest? To me, the hardest loss It's a good question, Brandon. To me, the hardest loss was Dre Greenlaw, man. I just missed the energy. I think Kyle Juszczyk was definitely a tough loss. I didn't like seeing that, but I felt like that one was inevitable, and I was prepared for that one. I was really prepared. Dre Greenlaw, as prepared as you could be, it just hurt, man. It hurt. Rick says, did you hear that Scatterbo might be in legal situation with the next team? Yeah, I saw that, but wait for all the details to come out. I'm not going to go crazy on that. But, yeah, I saw that. Greenlaw 100%. Michelle says Greenlaw. Media says, I wonder if we actually get Joey Bosa now. I know. Nav says, at this point, we got to face it. Our old team is done. The future is looking scary and different. This is our year to win a Super Bowl. It's a good way to look at it. I like the optimism. It is a different year. We got a young future. And that's what John Lynch, he said at the combine. The team has to get younger. They have to get younger. And that's exactly what they're doing. They're getting younger. It hurts. It hurts to lose guys like Jerry Greenlaw, Talanoa Hufanga, Kyle Juszczyk. We love these guys. They've been staples on this team. They're such key veterans, but losing them hurts. Charvarius Ward, but you got to get younger. Renardo Green now is going to be in the mix at cornerback instead of Charvarius Ward. A Malik Mustafa, he's going to be your main safety there. No more Dre Greenlaw. Maybe it's D Winters. You got no more Kyle Juszczyk. Maybe they go get a Cam Scatterbo, right? So that's what we got to do is get younger. Debo Samuel's gone. You got Ricky Pearsall. So really, it's tough because I think the biggest thing that you have to understand in society, change is very difficult. Change is always, nobody likes change. Nobody likes change, no matter what it is. Job, house, community, like life. So when you have a big change in your life, it's very hard to, adapt. Nobody wants to change that much. Change in society is so hard. We all like to have the same routine, make it easy. We like to rinse, lather, repeat. When you change it up, you get a little stress. So David says they're just cleaning house without telling us they're cleaning house. Pretty much. April says, at least we still have Moody. Oh my God. Jake Moody's still on the team. Oh, how do you guys feel about that? Jake Moody's still on the roster? Kyle Juszczyk's not. Dre Greenlaw, Charvarius Ward. Unbelievable. I don't know. It's tough. Yeah, Kyle Juszczyk, 9-time Pro Bowler. This guy was a staple. He was on the first year of free agents. The first year, Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch took over. He was the first wave of free agents on this team, man. I remember that. I was like, okay, we signed a fullback. But I didn't. We got Pierre Garçon, Marquise Goodwin. I remember we got Jared McKinnon, we got Kyle Juszczyk. They were signing people. If you guys remember that 2017 year when they took over, they had money. They were signing. I mean, they didn't have a quarterback. I wish they were trying to get Kirk Cousins, but they didn't. And in the draft, they were hoping to get Kirk Cousins. I remember Niners were signing that offseason. That first year, I was like, oh, they're going on. They're putting everything. They're taking over this team and getting talent because the roster was dog trash, right? They took over the Tom Sula team, and there was bad roster. They got rid of everybody. They kept Armstead, Defoe. That was pretty much all they kept. And Joe Staley. They kept those three. And they got Pierre Garçon, Marquise Goodwin. You got Kyle Juszczyk. They were adding, boy. They were adding players. Cassius Marsh. They were adding players back then. They were getting rid of players. They were adding players. It was like the Washington Commanders, right? They took Adam Peters came, cleaned house last year, and then he had the money and he was spending. And we all thought they were going to get a quarterback. They didn't. They got Solomon Thomas. And then they went and got Brian Hoyer. And then plan B was Jimmy Garoppolo. Rest is history. But, man, I remember Kyle Juszczyk was part of that first wave of free agents. And he was unbelievable. He was great, man, because the team wasn't that good when they first took over. They were getting their feet wet. But Kyle Juszczyk was dope, man. Him and George Kittle were a vibe. End of an era. The Cabo clique breaking up, man. Kittle is the oldest now. I think he is the longest tenured 49er. Longest tenured 49er. I think it's George Kittle now. Crazy. Absolutely wild. Crazy. In any case, that's it for now. I said this earlier. I said this twice now. I said if there's any more news, we'll come back live. And sure enough, the 49ers gave us some more news. So I'm going to say if there's any more news, we'll come back live. But I kind of want the Niners to be quiet the rest of the night. I can't take any more, whether it's good or bad. I need the Niners to just chill for tonight. You can do more to tomorrow. Niners 909 said the problem here is not replacing any of these players. I agree. That's what we said earlier. Like, it's tough because they haven't replaced them. Media says, how would I feel about signing Jameis Winston? I actually wouldn't hate it. I actually would love Jameis Winston would be a content machine. He's a good backup quarterback. I like Jameis. I would actually like Jameis. We got nothing to lose. Go sign Jameis Winston as your backup quarterback. He's all vibes. He's all vibes. That's it. Anyways, you guys have a good rest of your night. I might be back. VZ says all this going on, all we have to show for it is a tight end too. Let's hope that they get Bosa tonight, because my boy Blooming Cash is absolutely right. Bosa's signing tonight would make me feel better. If they sign Bosa tonight, the Bay will sleep a little bit better, because if not, it's going to be a stressful sleep night. You guys have a good rest of your night. I love you. And if there's any more news, we'll be back. Niners, give us some good news.